Hey, this is Gerd's Handel, and welcome to the Inner Light Project. This show is for anyone who's wanting to lead a happier, healthier, and enlightened life. Create more self-love, inject more joy and abundance into their daily life. Join me for inspiring interviews and spiritual topics so you can shine your inner light. Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Inner Light Project. My name is Gerd Handel and today I have a beautiful guest with me who is helping women to shine their inner light and follow their soul's calling. Rebecca Campbell is an author, spiritual teacher, ground spiritual mentor and soulful guide. She's a best-selling author of Light is the New Black and has guided thousands of women to create a life that is completely aligned to themselves and their calling. She believes that we can all tap into our creativity and lead from a place that is authentic and filled with our inner light. Rebecca, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show again, and thank you for joining us in this space today.
My pleasure. Happy to be with you again.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. It's great to have you on again because the last time we spoke about your story and your book, Light is the New Black, this time I want to delve in a bit deeper because some of the listeners were calling in and asking, like, how can we turn on our light when we've kind of lost hope in ourselves and others? What's kind of like the first thing that we could do to start shining that light?
Well, the first thing is like, don't think about shining the light for other people. Just think about coming back to your own center. Like I talk about our heart, our soul, like there's a place that resides within us, which I call like the inner temple. And, you know, it's so easy in our busy lives these days and being bombarded with messages, particularly, gosh, if you live in the city, you know, and you're going into work and you just, or even just like on your phone, it's constant external bombardment. And so the best way I think to turn your light on is literally to tend to your own inner light. And you know, regardless of whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, I mean, I'm definitely an introvert. I'm someone who gets energy by spending time on my own, basically. But even if you're an extrovert, it's committing to some kind of practice. And the practice is literally, like the word says, practice, some kind of tool or some kind of thing that you do which you show up to every day just to bring you back into that centered place. So, you know, that could be journaling, that could be walking in nature, it could be arranging flowers, it could be creating beauty somehow, like through, it could be a cooking meditation, or it could be a classic meditation as well. One of my favorite forms of meditation is chanting, which is essentially singing. So there's so many different types. Anything to do with, like, the language of the soul is anything to do with art and beauty and quiet and nature and anything that you're being creative with. So that's the first thing I'd recommend. Amazing.
Would you say that women find it more difficult to shine their light than men?
Well, I think that women are, because of the times we're living in anyway, we're more self-conscious because, you know, particularly when it comes to like our bodies and things like that, the world seems to have an opinion about that. And regardless of whether you can, you know, someone directly says something to you, it's impossible not to absorb that in some way. So I think women are less confident, perhaps. That's a general, very big stereotype, which I don't normally like to do. But yeah, I'd say generally speaking, women tend to be more sensitive than men.
I guess some of it kind of links to like some of the past, like, you know, women, you know, fighting for women's rights and lots of all these other things that we've kind of almost taken a little bit step back, but now, like you said, in this time, we're kind of rising again.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah. Because I find that, there's a lot of women, you know, they want to do so much in the world, they want to create so much, but sometimes they actually stop themselves from shining their light.
Totally.
Yeah. So, you know, you were saying the first step is to kind of like do meditation or connect with nature. What would be like the next step?
Well, when you're doing that, to just notice what what arises. Often when we're going around our busy lives, it's like we're just like it's what they call the monkey mind, where it's like the same thoughts going round and round and round, like the hamster wheel, and when we don't take time out from our lives, we just are running on that hamster wheel. So when we take the time to show up to a practice, the first thing to do is like, often at first, all those thoughts will come flooding, and it's just like, oh my God, I don't want to think about this stuff. But eventually, when you just like you get into the practice of observing them rather than allowing them to take you down or defining yourself by them, then you create space for your intuition, for what I call the whisper of your soul to come through. It's why, like, when you're in the shower or when you're walking on the beach or in the park, that tends to be when the best ideas, like creative ideas, come in as well. It's like, or there'll be a solution to a problem that you haven't really thought of. It's because you're getting out of that monotony of your everyday life and creating space in your heart, in your body, in your mind for the new to drop in.
Yeah, I guess, is it kind of like when you stop kind of following the same routine that you have on a daily basis?
Yes, exactly. That's a great analogy.
Yeah, because in the beginning, when I kind of like yourself, I came from a media background, and I used to always have a strict routine. I've got to do things this way or that way. And then one day I just thought, let's try something a bit different. So I didn't follow the same routine of going home straight away or going to meet a friend. I decided to go in a different route and take that. And I ended up taking a walk around London Bridge and then ended up somewhere else. And it was the first time I started to realise what was it that I really wanted in my life.
Totally. That's so true. I remember I have a teacher, Sonia Choquette, who used to say that the best way to strengthen your intuition is to do things that you wouldn't normally do. So I so agree with that. It absolutely works.
She's amazing, Sonia. Yeah. So how do you know kind of when to follow your light? Might sound like a silly question, but like, say somebody out there who doesn't know, like, when can I actually shine my light? Like, how do they know when to follow it?
I mean, I would say that we should always, and that our inner light is like, it's the innocent part of us. It's the part of us that's connected to, like how the moon waxes and wanes, how the ocean tides come in and out, how at the moment we're in spring in London and the cherry blossoms have just totally bloomed, but the roses aren't there yet. And so it's that intelligent force that's woven through all of life that's also woven through us. And, we've been taught, the bulk of us, to use the external world as feedback rather than actually turning in and letting that light, that soul, that whisper of our intuition to guide us.
Yeah, that's so true.
So I would say we should always do that.
Yeah.
And, I think what a lot of people, some people like misjudge like the whole shine your light thing as like being like this kind of like, I need to shine my light for the world, like for everyone else, but it's like, I don't see it as that. I think it's a repercussion sometimes when we tend to our own inner light, when we show up to our daily practice, when we listen. And, one of the practices I have is like following the things that light you up. And by that, I mean, things that make you feel lighter, that make you feel excited, the things that make you feel filled up and make you like take your breath away, or that you can just like lose time in doing because you just like love doing it so much. It's those things that light us up. And often, and this is the genius about this world, is that the more you follow those things, the more lit up you will get. And like an outcome of that, which I don't think is the reason why we do it, but one of the outcomes is that we light up the world with our presence. It's not because we're trying to like throw our light out into the world. It's because we're just lit up ourselves. It's like, if we go back to that flower analogy, when we look at the cherry blossom's not trying to hold on to its petals. And the roses aren't trying to like bloom extra early and like keep their flowers and all their petals on for ages and ages. They don't do that. They know their perfect time. They trust their perfect time, and they're just like, you know, and also with flowers, they're my number one teacher, I think. Flowers, they don't open and close according to who's walking by. They just show their beauty regardless. And I think a lot of us are, whether it's through bullying, whether it's just through bombardment of media, have learnt to dim our light in order to fit in. And, you know, like, gosh, the corporate world is full of that. And this isn't about, oh, the corporate world's bad, blah, blah, blah. It's the corporate world is just part of the times that we live in. And I believe that these times we're living in are changing dramatically, you know. So, and the brilliant thing is, like, so many of the jobs that are going to be, that the kids at school today are going to be doing, they don't exist yet. And so yeah, my hope is that we'll move more into a state of like tuning in for the guidance of what we want to contribute to the world, because it is in alignment with who we really are.
Yeah, I guess I know what you mean by saying the corporate world, but I kind of see it like that world, the outer world is like fear and the inner world is like love and flow. And when we connect with the inner love and flow, the outer world no longer kind of affects us and that fear kind of disappears.
Totally. Exactly. Beautiful.
And I guess that's like you just said with the flowers, it's kind of like the same thing. They never really care about anybody or anything else. They kind of just blossom when they need to blossom in their own light and in their own essence.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they're not kind of scrolling on social media going, oh my gosh, I should be doing this right now. Why aren't I there?
Or checking out the other flower across the other side or something.
Exactly.
I can just see like flowers now just checking each other out.
Exactly.
I love that. Could you tell us about the High Vibes meditation?
Or you mean the meditations I do on my website?
Yeah.
Oh, that just links through to all of my meditations.
Oh, right.
So I've got a new meditation. It's not that new, but I've just recorded it, which is my favorite one, and it's called the Inner Temple Rejuvenation Meditation. This is my favorite type of meditation because it's literally just all about like slowing down and allowing yourself to be gathered, like gather yourself to be filled up, to be rejuvenated, to be like, you know, to really take a moment to rest at your inner temple, which is the place that I believe that we should all go to for guidance. We should all go to for healing. We should all go to for answers. And also we should all go to when we go through life and things don't go well, you know? So going back to that place deep within you, which can really deeply rejuvenate us, that can really deeply comfort us as well. So that's my favorite meditation, the Inner Temple Rejuvenation Meditation. And that's, if you just go to my site, RebeccaCampbell.me, that's available for free up the top there. And then, yeah, I've got loads of different meditations. In my Rise Sisterhood, we do a new one each month, and we do like initiations and activations and working with the different goddesses. I love that type of work with meditations where we're working with a particular energy or a goddess and really invoking that within ourselves.
Wow. I love that. Guys, do check that out because it sounds amazing. I'm going to get on it as well. Yeah, it sounds great. Rebecca, I wanted to ask you about, would you say that when we feel like we've lost hope within ourselves, it's because we're not really shining our light from within? It's like we're having a rebirth.
Well, yeah, that's such a great analogy. So my friend Robert Holden, I love the way he describes it. So he talks of the, what most people call the dark night of the soul. He calls it the dark night of the ego, which I think is amazing because, what he says is the soul never has a dark night. And what I believe is that, and I think this is such a common misconception with light workers as well. It's like, I want to be the light worker, I want to be the light, etc. And a lot of people who might pick that up can think that a light worker is all just like angels and fairy dust. Do you know, like positivity, let me beam it at you kind of thing.
Yeah.
However, to me, a light worker is someone who has been courageous enough to go to the depths. Soul work is, in essence, it's about deep sea diving. And, I wrote this poem, which is in Light is the New Black, which is called I Pray That You Hit Rock Bottom.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not because I'm a horrible person.
You're definitely not.
It's because... So, yeah, I believe everyone at some stage in their life has the opportunity to have this rock bottom moment, which Robert would call the dark night of the ego. And it is the greatest blessing we will ever be given, because what we're being given the opportunity to do is to allow the ego, the physical human self, to crack open, and the ancient soul self, which is part of the oneness of all of life, to step forward. And, I believe that we've had many past lives and that we've existed in other realms beyond just this one. And when we have our dark night of the soul or the ego or the cracking open moment, what happens is the potency of our soul steps forward. And while it might feel just so dark, whether it's like through the loss of a job, through the loss of a loved one, through some kind of severe grief, it might feel like, oh my gosh, I wish this wasn't happening and it's so dark and there's no hope. But actually, it is in that darkness where we can most see our inner light. And it's also in that darkness, like all things in life, that hope actually springs eternal. That's where hope exists the most. Because when things are bright and cheery, you don't need hope. Whereas when life, through the waves crashing through our lives, crack us open, we then get to choose how we want to bring the pieces back together. And it is, I think, one of the most tender moments of being human when you experience your rock bottom for the first time. And I think many of us experience them several times through our lives. I like seeing our journey as the spiral. Unfortunately, it's not a straight line. It's the spiral, and as you journey in and in and in, we continue to be given these experiences, which, you could look at them as ripping your heart open, where actually it's stretching the muscles of the heart so more of your soul can come forward. And when we do go through these periods of great heartache or soul break or cracking open, the reason they're so wonderful is that it is in that darkness that our light is impossible to ignore. There's a point where you can choose to ignore it, but at the end it's like, this is the direction that I choose. And when we if there's anyone on the call who's going through a rock bottom moment, whether that's through the breaking of a relationship or whatever has happened to you, I want you to see this as an opportunity. One of my favorite things to say in these moments is that your suffering happens for you, not to you. And so I wonder if you can just like reframe that and be like, okay, what is this teaching me? And how can I allow myself to unfold through all of this, like that beautiful, beautiful rose, which starts tight as a bud and doesn't want to open, and then it just opens and opens and opens. So I think rock bottoms are the greatest blessing that we can go through, and one of the most painful things. And that is what being human is about as well. You know, I really believe that being a soul is easy. Being human is a lot harder.
It's so true. I can totally relate with everything you're saying, because in 2012 I was made redundant first, and then before my 25th birthday at the time I had a cancer scare, and I kept getting patterns, Rebecca, beforehand, but I kept ignoring them, like you said.
And we all do. It's human nature. You know, it's just some of us get the message sooner and some of us, but sometimes we need it's like there's the tower, the card in the tarot deck, the tower, where it's like the tower is on fire and there are people at the window, and they would have smelt the burning, they would have smelt it, but they waited to the last minute, and that is the nature of it's scary to admit that. So you continue on. Tell me your story. So
it was when I came out of the hospital and I was told that I didn't have cancer. I just felt like so relieved. Like kind of like you said, you cracked open. I cracked open that day, and I was like, enough is enough. And at the time, I remember thinking, you know, why me? You know, kind of that victim mindset. Why is it happening to me? What have I done? And when I woke up that day, it was like, now I know why this happened, because if this didn't happen, I wouldn't be able to move forward with my life. I wouldn't be able to actually go on the journey that I was supposed to come in this world. But totally.
Yeah, it's like often, I think also like often our calling, for those of us who are called to, like, say, do create something in the world or change the career that they're in or whatever, it can be very scary to admit to that and actually do that, you know? And sometimes it does take this crumbling to be like, okay, you know, I mean, that was the case for me. I avoided my calling for so long, and I tried to make it work another way, and then it just became very clear the direction I was meant to go in, you know?
And you know what's really interesting in your book is that how you realise that your name is actually what you were supposed to do.
I find that so fascinating. It's a thing called normative determinism.
Oh, right.
And yeah, it's an actual thing. And yeah, if you look up my favourite site for looking up for names is actually, it's a site called, I think it's called She Knows Baby Names. It's like a baby name site. I find it the best one, and it looks at the meaning, all the different meanings through different cultures of a name. So my name Rebecca means, it's like Hebrew for to bind, as in like a basket, you know, like binding, unbound, basically. And then my middle name is Grace, which is obviously, like, to me, that is the inner temple. and then Campbell means something else. But yeah, it was through understanding that I was like, oh, that is so true. Yeah, unbound. And so that was very much, that's very much what I've been doing in my work. It's like unbinding the soul patterns, unbinding the things that stop us from being courageous enough to answer the call of the soul. Have you looked up your name?
Oh yeah. So years ago, I kind of knew what my first name meant and my middle, but I didn't ever pay attention to my surname. So my full name is Gurdeep, and obviously my nickname is Gurds. So Gurdeep means the lamp of the guru, lamp of the teacher. My middle...
wow.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's unbelievable. And then my middle name is Kaur, which it's a Sikh middle name, and it means princess. And then my surname Hundal dates back to like warriors. So what I realised is, it's a bit insane. It's the lamp of the teacher, helping women to become warriors, and I was just like, oh my god! Like,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it just shows, like, all of us, like, when we think we don't know what we're here supposed to do in this world, it's right in front of us. We just have to look at our name.
Isn't it true? It's just like, and that's the thing, because I find that, because obviously, like I write books, and part of what I do is use, and like you do too, use my story as a platform to teach from as well. And I feel bad sometimes when I'm like, and then this happened, and then it was clear, and blah 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 blah, because it never actually works like that in the moment. You know, I've studied this. I'm a student of a practice called biography. It's essentially like you excavate your life anyways, it's a whole practice. I won't tell you exactly what it is because it's quite complicated, but I'm loving learning about it, and I'm blown away because it's a practice I'd kind of done myself without knowing it was an actual thing, and obviously I'm way deepening my practice in it now. But when you excavate your life and you look at the biography of your life and your story and the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows, you are able to make more sense of yourself. And I always say the dots only join in the end. You know, I think Steve Jobs first said that. That's where I got that from. And it really is this weaving that happens. And often you need that perspective to look back and be like, oh, I always knew that. Gosh, you know, but at the time it can be scary and confusing. And that's where it's like coming back to the intuition or your inner temple. It's like taking a moment each day to check in. Just like I like to see your relationship with your soul or your intuition, just like a relationship in your life. You know, in order to be tuned in with a person in your life who's important with you, you probably send them a text, or you pick up the phone and have a little chat. You know, it's like I live on the other side of the world to my parents, and probably about once a week we'll have a phone conversation. And if we haven't, I kind of feel like, oh, we're a bit out of sync, you know. Same thing goes with your intuition. The more you can tune in to that, the more you're going to notice the whispers before they are having to turn into shouts. Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, when you ignore your intuition and then and something happens and like, oh, I should have listened to it.
Yes, exactly. And don't beat yourself up if you don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Because sometimes when our intuition whispers, it's not what we want to hear. So, you know, no judgment if you don't answer immediately, but just take note if you're getting the same information over and over again.
I love that. Made, could you tell us about Work Your Light Oracle cards that are coming out soon?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I love talking about them because it was just such a joy to create these. They're so beautiful. I worked with an amazing illustrator called Danielle Knoll, and, you know, I'd always seen visions while I meditated and when I wrote, and it's been such a beautiful experience to have these expressed so perfectly. Like, they're just this kind of like gorgeous, like collage, cosmic art style, and each one is like a little portal into another world. So they're wonderful. Prior to surrendering to my call, I was in advertising. I was a copywriter where I worked on my writing craft and a creative director. And so it was really cool to be able to use my creative background with these cards. I just really, really loved it.
Wow. Well, I just wanted to remind the listeners that we're never really on the wrong path, are we? Like everything. Before,
never.
Because before, even the things that we have, or like myself with media, like yourself with media, like those things help us for the future.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So when are they available, my dear?
Well, they are available the first week of June, but they're available for pre-order now. So if you go onto Amazon, or maybe there'll be or on my website there'll be a link there, and just type in the Work Your Light Oracle or my name, and you'll see them. And Danielle Knoll, the illustrator, and I, we're going to be doing an activation session where we'll be like activating our cards together for everyone who pre-orders before June. So yeah, be sure to pre-order before June if you want to be part of that.
Amazing. And say for somebody out there who doesn't know about oracle cards, would you say it's like kind of like crystals?
That's a great way to describe them. Yeah, they're just like different ways in. They're called, so all the different types of I just call them tools, right? They're called divination tools, as in like, just divination. You can see that word comes from like root word of divine, I'm sure, somewhere. I haven't studied the beginning of words before, but essentially they're just a different way in to hear the whisper of your soul. Or hear your intuition, if that's the language you use. So and I think that the reason I love cards as well is that they're a fun way to kind of like dabble into this world with a friend, because you can do a little card reading for each other. They come, and a lot of the oracle decks do this, and the tarot decks, they come with a little guidebook. So if you pull a card, it's not like you have to like be this like amazing psychic person. You can just literally like look at the card, look at the title, and then look it up in the book and discover the meaning. And you can ask a question, and just then pull a card and then read the meaning of the card for your friend. And there's also lots of different types of readings that you can do. So there's one where it's like the decision maker, or there's one where it's like a 6-month forecast for the next half year. And so that kind of thing is really fun to do with like your boyfriend or husband or girlfriend or mom or sister. That's why I love cards. I first got into them through my friend Sheila, who actually used to babysit for her kids, and we had noticed that we had the same kind of books. Like she had Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, etc. And so we got talking, and then she did my tarot cards for the first time. I'd never even heard of them or seen them. And yeah, we really bonded over doing them, because as you do the cards, then it's a really nice icebreaker as well, because it's almost like it opens a door for you to be in conversation around things to do with the heart versus just, superficial things.
I love that. And my dear, we are coming towards the end of the show. It's gone, so quick.
I know. Gosh.
I've got a few more questions.
Yeah.
My first one is, what are your 5 top tips for someone who finds it hard to spend time with their soul?
Well, I would say that you're never going to be doing it wrong. So you don't have to do it a certain way. The second one is just like, don't feel like you need to sit down and do it for like an hour. Start with 5 or 10 minutes. And if that's all, if you're a mom and you're just like way too busy, do 5 minutes a day. It's absolutely fine. You don't have to be like a monk in a mountain cave and do it all day long, right? Yeah. I'd say also commit to some kind of practice. Like maybe double at first, try a whole lot of different ones, but then commit to one which you're going to show up to for, say, like 21 days or a month, just so you've got the repetition. I think showing up at a similar time of day helps. Just like, I remember Oprah saying once that it's like, if you don't go to the gym first thing in the morning, you're never going to go to the gym. So if you're having trouble like with discipline, then just get it done first thing in the morning. But yeah, don't feel like it has to be a certain. You have to do it a certain way or fit into a box. Like paint, sing, journal, walk in nature. Like find your way of doing it.
Yeah, I remember having my own kind of. It was in 2012 again, and I was like, I need to do something different. I kept following the same routines and the patterns, and so I created a list I had to do one thing every month. So I wrote 12 things down, and one was like bungee jumping, one was like climbing over the O2, like lots of different things. And wow, That was powerful.
That's amazing. And what was your favorite?
Ooh, my one, it's going to sound really odd, but I had a fear of snakes.
Oh, yeah?
Always had done. It came from a film I watched when I was really young. So I was at an event and they brought out a snake, and I remember thinking, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this? But beforehand, we'd written our fears on an arrow. And so what happens is you kind of write it, it's like a safety arrow. So I wrote down, I want to overcome my issue with snakes. And then you break the arrow with your throat while somebody's holding it. And once I broke that, and then like this was later in the evening, they brought out a snake and I went and touched it for the first time.
Wow.
It like shifted. I can't even explain it, but I'd spent my whole life like scared of looking at a snake on TV. I would scream.
Wow.
It was that bad, yeah. Even when I went to India, like I remember saying when I was 13 to my mum, if I see a snake, I'm gonna scream. And like we got out of the airport and there was a guy with a snake.
Well, of course. You manifested that snake.
yeah. So like little things like that when I was younger, I would scream. And like after that event, where I broke the arrow, it shifted. Like now I can look at a snake. I can happily just see one on TV. If somebody had one around their arms, I wouldn't have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Wow, that is. I did not expect you to say that.
Yeah,
I love about you.
It was a bit extreme, but yeah, that was probably my favourite because it made me realise that if I can overcome that, I can overcome anything in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What about yourself? What was your kind of favourite?
My favorite is chanting. Yeah, it's I'm a Bhakti yoga teacher, so that's Bhakti is like the path of devotion, and like kirtan chanting is like the Indian lineage of group chanting. So yeah, I've got this instrument called a harmonium, and that's my favorite practice.
I love the harmonium. I grew up playing that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you? Oh my gosh, how fortunate.
Yeah. We call it also the word in Punjabi, they call it vajja as well.
Of course, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. What a great thing to grow up with.
Yeah, it was so powerful. Like at the time, I was playing it when I was really young, but I didn't really know the meanings behind it. So I'd sing on stage in the temple, but have no clue what I was saying.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's funny also when we're at such a young age, being like open, like receiving things like that in front of us. It's like everything is being like absorbed at some level, and then we don't actually consciously know it until after, and it's like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yeah, that's so true. Like if I go in now and I hear it, I just feel so calm, or I hear it like on like YouTube, I feel so peaceful. But I didn't understand it when I was a child. It was amazing. Like I look back now and think, now I know why.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, wow. What's your favourite chant?
I can hear it in my head, but I've forgotten the name of it. I'll have to search for you.
That damn Sanskrit.
Yeah. But my favourite person to listen to is Sanatnam Kaur.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Such an angelic voice, right?
Yeah.
I saw her when she was out here recently. She's she's so talented.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, she's so, I don't know, there's something about her voice. It's just so,
it's like haunting almost.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, growing up going to the temple and stuff, you never really hear that kind of voice, but her voice is so free and it's so, I don't know, it's almost like soothing to the soul.
Totally. I really agree. Yeah. I really agree. Yeah, they say that like our voice is the most powerful sound current that we're ever going to have, and you know, and that it carries, like when we go into devotion, whether it's meditation or chanting, it's like we gather up all of the times that we've ever shown up for that practice.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing about spiritual practice as well. It's like you don't necessarily practice for the days that life is amazing. You show up and practice for when you do go through those rock bottom moments, so that there is that light that has been tended to that can carry us through no matter what.
I love that. Yeah. My dear, my last question for you is, what are you most grateful for?
Oh, what am I most grateful for? I would say, like, personally, I'm most grateful that I get to share my creations. That is definitely the thing, that moment where I can commune with, and who knows what it really is. You know, we put these names to it, but I can enter the place where I feel most at peace and then turn that into art. That is what I'm most grateful for.
That's beautiful. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for being on the show. And
my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for shining your light with us all.
Oh, my pleasure. You too.
Oh, bless you. Wow, what an amazing interview with Rebecca. That was just, wow, eye-opening. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show. Before I leave, I want to leave you with this quote. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. That's a quote by Maya Angelou. For more information about the show or Rebecca Campbell details, visit www.gerdshandel.com. And remember, stay happy, stay healthy, stay lit.